Now, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa seems to be gaining full control of the ruling party ahead of next year's elections. The newly elected National Working Committee is dominated by his allies. It consists of members of the party's top 7 and 20 more from the NEC, including Barbara Creecy, Mdumiseni, Ntuli and Zizi Kodwa. Now, let's unpack this now, and I'm joined by political analyst Professor Susan Booysen. Thank you so much for joining me, Prof. Of course, this must be a big win if we look at it for Cyril Ramaphosa.
Yes, indeed. Now, Cyril Ramaphosa gradually established stronger control of his NEC and NWC in the course of his first term until the end of last year. And from the elections of the NEC in December last year, we could see that he has stronger control. Now we see there's an NWC, in total 20 elected members, those elected yesterday, but amounting to 31 in total, including the 7 top officials, etc. And now in the elections for this NWC, of course, the day-to-day running body that runs the ANC, and we saw the higher percentages coming there in the around 50 votes. That means 50 votes out of 80. And roughly that would translate into about 2/3 of the NWC and NEC, 2/3 of the NEC, I should say, and now virtually the full NWC being CR Cyril Ramaphosa supporters. And that is a big change. Not only did the so-called RET faction or the supporters of Paul Mashatile not make it into the NWC, but we also know that those contestants against Ramaphosa for the presidency of the ANC, like Zweli Mkhize at one stage, also Ntuli and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, they are on the NEC, but they did not make it through this vote onto the NWC. And that means that Ramaphosa can really breathe a sigh of relief, and he can probably run the ANC in a much more relaxed mode. It also means, though, that there are no excuses. There are no, or shall I say, far fewer internal challenges and much more leeway for the president to get on with business of government.
I wanted to mention those names you also just mentioned, interestingly enough, but of course no surprise there, Lindiwe Sisulu, Zweli Mkhize and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma not being part of the NWC. But do you think this could possibly be a signal of the end of their political influence within the party?
It could very well be, especially for Lindiwe Sisulu and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, because both of them have basically reached the top of their careers and have put in more than one challenge over the last 2 sets of elections for Lindiwe Sisulu and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma ever since Polokwane in 2008. Then she was on a Thabo Mbeki slate, tried to get into the deputy presidency or the presidency position in 27. And I guess there is that is the end of the tarmac for those 2 very prominent ANC women politicians. Zweli Mkhize is relatively young, but of course he has got a few challenges on the digital vibes case, for example. He has so far survived it in the sense that he could successfully, virtually as a candidate, not as a winner, but as a solid candidate, run in the December 2022 ANC elections. And so there may still be space for him to return in future. But with a person like Paul Mashatile now firmly in the deputy presidency of the ANC, it will be very difficult for Zweli Mkhize also to make a comeback.
Let's talk about, David Mabuza not being there today at the Lekgotla, or for the next few days. He won't be attending the Lekgotla. What do you think that signals, especially with the rumors now that he might be stepping aside as deputy president?
Yes, indeed. We know those rumors have been flying thick and fast in the last few days, including that the Mail Radio said he is resigning. Others indicate that he is at the point of resigning, but it is uncontested that he is on his way out and that he wants to get out sooner rather than later, that he does not want to be seen to be the victim of a cabinet reshuffle, being reshuffled out of cabinet, that he wants to take the initiative apparently and get out of government, out of the deputy presidency. And he also projects that in terms of the interests of the ANC, then to get better alignment between the ANC structures and the government structures. And in a way, that's also part of the intrigue of the moment, is that also forces or help force President Cyril Ramaphosa's hand in bringing in that cabinet reshuffle at this stage and not at a perhaps more convenient, slightly later stage.
Now, you did mention earlier, of course, a clean sweep for Cyril Ramaphosa, but now the hard work lies ahead for this newly elected NWC. What do you think, should be their top priority?
Oh, there is so little doubt as to the twin or triple set of factors that absolutely have to get the attention very seriously. And that is obviously in the first place that it affects the ANC's perception that people have, the citizens and voters have, of the ANC in a very immediate way, and that is energy crisis and load shedding, electricity, power access to people, and that goes hand in hand with the economy and the absolute need to get the economy on a solid growth path and not just to blame previous crises and current crises for lack in getting forward movement. Hand in hand with the general economic challenges, economy challenges, of course, goes that of job creation and a massive unemployment and the massive dependency of citizens on the state. Perhaps the ANC scores from the fact that to a significant extent, the parent state that looks after around, as Cyril Ramaphosa pointed out in his political address today, 27 million people and citizens of South Africa, 25 million perhaps, in that region, and people dependent on the state, knowing that this is a state that maybe not sufficiently, but in some way through some allowances and grants, provides some care to the citizens. And of course, to lessen that dependency or to supplement those basic incomes, to the quality of life of citizens in South Africa. That is such an important prerogative of the ANC. And on the first of these priorities that I mentioned, of course, load shedding and the energy crisis, it was very interesting, the words by Ramaphosa today, so that it is important that citizens, voters, see the ANC, have the image of the ANC as an organization that has a serious plan to move forward and to address these serious problems. And of course, that is in a context that the ANC has entered for some time now, but acknowledged in this address by Ramaphosa today that is in the 2024 election campaign already.
Of course, President Cyril Ramaphosa, he will have to navigate very carefully when it comes to his cabinet reshuffle when that does take place. What do you think we can possibly expect?
Well, if Cyril Ramaphosa remains true to his previous preferences, it is a question of the minimal kind of changes. He has so far not liked to make major reshuffles, but that was firmly within his first term as ANC president. I do think that we are going to see more changes this time around. And one of the indicators could very well be who are the people who have been emerging from the ranks of these NWC elections in prime positions. Quite a number of them are already in cabinet. We can, for example, see that some of them may be promoted or given more senior, in the sense of being given more senior portfolios. We can see that kind of change. We can see the likelihood, I would say, that a few other persons who are deputy ministers and who were successful in the NWC elections, that they may be rising further through the ranks. And yes, we are definitely going to have to see that that there is evidence in the actions of Ramaphosa in terms of cabinet reshuffle, that the energy crisis is being taken seriously. Action is necessary, and of course, there is the conference resolution of the ANC that Eskom be handed over to Energy Department away from SOEs, and there's resistance to that. And yes, we are likely to see a few dramatic changes, I think, when it comes to energy. The ANC cannot possibly hope to get a great impression that it is seriously on track addressing the energy crisis if it simply continues in the way it has been going. And we would have to see, voters, citizens would want to see evidence of that in top government as well.
It will be quite interesting to see what he will be doing and his approach he will be taking when it comes to the energy crisis with his cabinet reshuffle. But thank you so much for joining us and just dissecting there. Political analyst, Professor Susan Booysen. Of course, we'll have more news for you here on ENCA, so do stay with us.